Hello and welcome to Powered by Intuition. This is the podcast live stream where I kind of tap into what is coming up in the world, what is going on in my little sphere of influence, and sharing learnings, different insights, intel that has been gained and gathered, and disseminating it to you all, giving it out, sharing it freely. And these insights may apply whenever you are listening to this. Even though it's around more current events, there are still insights and learnings that go beyond this, that will impact your life. And hopefully this episode will meet you in the moment that you need it most. So that is the point of doing this. And yeah, that's why I'm doing this podcast, because it's not just about current events. These things, these principles, these concepts, these learnings, these teachings are things that you can take with you throughout your life. With that said, this one is completely off the cuff. There is not a main planned insight, like what comes out, and we just roll with it. So that's what today's episode is going to be. And yeah, things are amping up. Things are heating up. So one thing that I notice is, at least within my area, my scope, my sphere of influence, I will tap into things or like feel things, kind of like tap into the energies, miasma, whatever you want to call it, just kind of like a little bit before I see it kind of roll out with others. So one of the things that I'm like noticing or picking up on is anger, just a lot of frustration, douchebaggery, at people being a-holes, at people just going out there and causing harm. And then instead of being in integrity, instead of being responsible, like doubling down on that and turning out to be a-holes. And the thing that I realize is if people don't often call each other out on this stuff. And so the other day, I had to call out some kids being absolute idiots. And here's the thing. The point is learn from the mistakes. Don't be a-holes. And hopefully in the future, they will stop being morons, basically is what it comes down to. And a lot of this was like these teenage kids making reckless moves. And, I laid into them on it. I went into full on like mommy mode, a black mommy mode. Okay. If you know, you know. And yeah, it was kind of a funny interaction, but I'm just like, nah, I'm not going to let you guys be like this when you did a move and then you're flipping me off because I honked my horn to prevent an accident because you guys were intent on causing an accident. And these are like, there's mostly black kids in the car and they're male. And it's like, you guys are, hi, Obi. You guys are kind of the reason why racism exists. And it's not going to work in your favor. And if they do have family that cares about them, they would care that someone speaks up so that they don't persist in those behaviors, because their life is not going to be that long. And as tough love as it is, this stuff needs to happen more. And even on that, there needs to be a rite of passage for men that they don't get to be excused from, unless the obvious, like disability. But even with that, like a rite of passage that they can handle. And that's the thing that's missing from our cultures, because historically, culturally, around the world, prior to the ideas of being civilized, I have quotes around that because a lot of being civilized focuses on colonization, which is extremely savage. Even though it's under the guise of civilized or civilization being civilized, they're barbaric and savage, stealing land from others. A lot of, things happen from a lack of cleanliness, a lack of hygiene, a lack of caring for fellow humans. That's not civilized behavior. And, from that, there hasn't been that rite of passage where young men establish what it is to be a man for themselves on their own terms, navigating a harrowing situation, learning from that situation, and valuing life from that. I think the most notable one that people can consider are walkabouts. And these things need to come back, uh, because they just out here wildin', and that energy, that aggressiveness, that sort of reckless behavior has literally been cultivated throughout humanity for the purpose of a rite of passage. Now, women have this built in. The rite of passage for women is the natural processes of the monthly period and that sort of thing. Like, that is not fun to deal with. That is a monthly thing. It's excruciating. It's, bleeding and not dying, right? And then the subsequent, if, a woman chooses to have a baby, that is the subsequent rite of passage. So women have that built in, men do not. And that's part of what I feel, once again, I feel, I'm being very clear on that. This is not fact. This is opinion. I feel like men not going through a rite of passage and being primed for a rite of passage in the way that is appropriate in most antiquated cultures is something that is missing from our society on whole. So that's one part that's kind of come up this week. The other part is just being frustrated, not tolerating the behaviors that have been happening within, the world, within the states, like seeing really savage, degenerate, unfortunate behavior and seeing people be like, yeah, this is okay. No, it's not. And, I stick with my guns and saying karma's coming quick this year. And there's not much of the year left. So it's going to be interesting how that plays out. Because I just feel like the pressure is kind of building right now. People are getting upset. There is going to be a tip into anger, hostility, and a little more reckless behavior. And I'm just kind of like picking up on that. And there are other things that I like to share where this shift in the recent purchase and the acquisition of TikTok is very fascinating. With this, there's some things that people need to know about. Oracle is a very interesting company. Gosh, is it like 20 years ago now? No, 2017? I forget. But there was a software called the Crystal Ball. And the Crystal Ball, I saw a video of one of its founders many, 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 many years ago. And basically, this was kind of run off servers underneath Las Vegas. I don't know if it's still there. I'm pretty sure it is. And I'm pretty sure that is Oracle's servers. And basically, it was a predictability software. And that software could predict the occurrence of someone's behavior, of what they might do in the future. And events. And it was pretty scarily, eerily accurate. That software still exists, and it is open to the public. And it's owned by Oracle. So imagine having that software and then having the data behind it. Yeah. So now let's tie in Palantir and all this other stuff. So there's a lot to be interested in or concerned about when it comes to this acquisition and the data that we all put out there. That's concerning. And that's something to be aware of. Be aware of the data that you put out there. There are several accounts, online that go into letting you know these things. And this kind of ties back into what previously happened with those guys who literally almost caused an accident. And they don't know that. Sorry, this cat's going crazy. She's like, so sorry, she's freaking out. They don't know that it's really easy to find people. It's really easy to find people. It's really easy to track them down. And in this day and age, it's not smart to do that stuff. It just isn't. So if you cut someone off, just say sorry. You don't need to flip them off for honking at you. You were in the wrong. Acknowledge it. Move on with your life. Be appropriate. But that comes with experience and with knowledge and with learning. So there are those situations to consider when you're interacting with people. And yeah, me popping off, probably not the best thing, but yeah, that's what I'm going to say about that. Going forward, be mindful of what you post online. Be mindful of what you are discussing. Having the coded language is something that's important, or parables. So really begin to sit back and contemplate the things that people are sharing, the things that they're speaking about, how you can apply them to their lives, and what are the other implications surrounding these things. Because I'm definitely going to be changing things up. And, so when it comes to that app that was acquired by Oracle, I am more inclined to just use it as a sales platform rather than sharing these insights. But, Google does the same thing with harvesting information, selling it, and that sort of thing. And it's probably, similar areas of where the information's hosted as well. So these are things to consider. What changes in your life? What changes do you get to make? Because your data is the most precious thing that's out there right now. We as people utilizing these platforms have become the commodity. We are the product. And that's something to kind of like sit with, to think about, contemplate how these platforms are influencing you, your daily life. Think about what may be going on beneath the surface to consider about these things. So there was one thing, and this was when I first I got a little spy camera because I was having a landlord kind of do some illegal stuff, and I needed to catch them in the act. But I also caught some fun things in the act too. When I was first setting up the camera and testing out the night vision, I was sitting there on my phone, and it was interesting because when I replayed that video, there was weird flashing going on from my phone screen. I'm like, what is that? Why is my phone like beaming stuff at me? Like, why is it doing these flashes of information? And it didn't correlate with what I was looking at. I was like, that's some suspicious stuff. I've seen a few more videos come up lately about that. So when you are on these platforms, when you're on different apps, when you're looking at your phone, pay attention to how you're feeling. Pay attention to these things. Take some time to detox from your phones, from the platforms, and you'll find I'll often do that. Oftentimes I just won't post. I won't be around. I'll just kind of like dip out. I have other things that I got to do, like creating the program that I'm creating right now. And sorry, I was going to have it done by this week and time ran out. I need to create some documents, the paperwork for people to kind of like download and kind of do the course with. So that will be hosted on YouTube. I'm almost there. So hopefully by this weekend, if things are a little chill, because they have not been, especially if I'm hopping on here at 8 p.m. when I want to be on here like at 7. That is just some information that things may take longer. And I'm definitely experiencing resistance with that and procrastination. So if you notice those sorts of things around you, just dive into like, okay, what's really going on here? What am I afraid of? Why am I getting distracted on this? Shouldn't I be refocusing back on to getting this work done? So that is something that I'm also actively working through. And with that stated, it doesn't matter who people are. People tend to pedestalize people, and this is something that I think I spoke of last week. Pedestalization of another. We put them up on a pedestal and you're like, you're amazing, you're wonderful, you're a saint, you're God, whatever. People get really fanatical or, a little extreme about how they view others and don't view themselves on that level, that basic humanity level where it's like, you're on the level with them. They're just humans. They're just human beings. There's nothing different from between you and them. They're just humans. Okay. And so, when you pedestalize people, you're kind of putting them above yourself. You're putting them in a position to have a fall from grace when you realize that they're human and they're not perfect. When you're the first to say, I'm not perfect. I work through things every day. I'm figuring things out constantly. I'm trying to work through like getting things out without that perfectionism lint and being happy with the results. But really, I want to make sure that I am serving people in the correct way and not just being sloppy with it. Like, I want people to benefit from what I put out there, and I want to make sure that it works. So it is perfectionism at the end of the day, because a lot of coaches just do not care. They do not give an F if their product works or not. They just schlep it on out there and they're like, great. And then people fall for it because there's that confidence behind it, that charisma. And when you look at like, hey, what are the results that you're actually creating? Well, like this person's talking. Well, what are the results that you're actually creating? Well, I feel good once I leave this space and I met a lot of great friends. What results are you actually creating in your life? Well, I dropped $1,000 on this and I'm kind of like struggling for my, yeah. Okay. It's not working then, right? Well, so I don't want to be that type of person. I want to be the one who I want to see actual results. I want to see people create results because those who are out there pontificating the BS are a dime a dozen. And the entire manosphere is based on marketing to men, but not actually helping men. It's grooming young men to be the perfect client. That is all the manosphere is. Because when you look at the people pulling strings, they're selling you stuff. That's it. And that is frustrating because these dudes believe it and then they're angry and frustrated, not at themselves, not at the person who is, lying to them, basically, not at the person who is extorting them for money based on those lies, but on women. It's women's fault. It's not, it's not the program doesn't work. It's women's fault. What are the results you're creating? Oh, is it working? No. Is it a lot of work? Yeah. Is it kind of excruciating and frustrating? Yeah. That's not a relationship. That's not fun. That's not actually a deep connection either. And I feel sorry for these guys that are falling for it. So there is that. But what else is coming up? Take time, cycling back. Take time to reorient. Take time to relax. Take time and space for yourself to just be still with yourself. And that's probably one of the hardest things for some people, to just be in that stillness, to just be with yourself, to not keep grabbing for the phone or for social media or for something. Just being in your space with yourself. Being present. Acknowledging who you really are outside of the internet sphere of influence. Go out, touch grass, meet some neighbors, just randomly chat someone up. Even if you're an introvert, just get out there, meet new people. Even if it's just, quick smile. Don't even have to make eye contact. You got to connect with your community. That's not optional. Your community is what makes things work. So within this situation, if you are not in a community, if you are not connected to community, Obi, leave it alone. Obi, thank you. If you're not connected to community, if you're not with a community, you're already losing. You're already at a loss, at a deficit. And I'm talking about physical community, not just online stuff. And that's kind of where the challenges are starting. And these shifts right now are for people to come together in their local communities and begin to connect, begin to move together, begin to create the differences within where they are at. And these create differences within yourself. It's got to start with you first. And a lot of people have a lot of resistance to that. Just like how I've had resistance to really getting this program done as fast as I can. So sorry about that. But yeah, it's, let me see. There's a lot. The cats are hungry. You want to say hi, Obi? But yeah, community is not optional. Actually, which is funny that I said that and that call came through, because that is part of the community that I support. And, I work to make sure that a specific veteran who has no family, no one else to support him, is receiving the support of a community. And so I step up constantly to make that happen. So, yeah. And that is, when you're part of community, it's give and take, right? You got to give what you can, which is, it's not money and it's not always food and it's not always things. Sometimes it's just your presence, giving of your presence, like being there and holding space for someone, which is like, just sitting there non-judgmental, just listening to them and then asking questions so that they can continue sharing what they need to share, feel better, and then move on now that they've been able to externalize that in a non-judgmental space. So each of us have our gifts, have our talents, have our special abilities, and it's really time to use them. It's time to step up. It's time to use those special abilities to make a better difference in the world. And it's time to remember your power in the mix. So I am going to just close it out with that. It's a little bit of a slow night, but thank you so much for joining in, and love to hear what you got from that. And if there's anything that stuck out to you or anything that you'd like me to share more on. So thank you so much and have a blessed one. All right. Good night, everybody.